So we have two goals this morning. One is to install the anti-rotate kit on the track Jeep here, and two is to explain how a YouTube giveaway works. And yes, before we go any farther, I did have to delete this video, add this part here in, and re-upload it today. Because a lot of you, I'm not saying all of you, I'm not even saying most of you, but enough of you need to be reminded of how to order things from a website. So let me explain. Today is day 8 of this giveaway since it went live. The rest of this video that you're about to see was filmed on day 1. Now it's day 8 and this video has been published. It lasted about 2 hours and I had to delete it. I'm now adding this part in and am putting it back up on what will be day 9 that you are seeing this. So there have been so many incorrect orders, and not a single one has been our fulfillment company screwing up an order. These are all orders where the person ordering has forgot to do things like pick a size, pick a color, get to the shipping part and they forget to do things like include the house number in their address, include the town it's supposed to go to, putting incorrect addresses, putting incorrect zip codes, and things are getting shipped to the other side of the state, and all kinds of stuff like that. So, like I said, today's day 8. On the first day, which was a Saturday, we got a big rush of orders, which was great. And please, none of this is trying to sound ungrateful for people wanting to support this. It's not, but it has caused an absolute week-long nightmare for my wife, mainly, and I, because I'm seeing my wife go through this week-long nightmare. So, it's day 8. We got a big rush of orders on day 1. There were a whole bunch of incorrect orders. People like, I screwed up this, I screwed up that. Our fulfillment company, you're gonna hear about how a fulfillment company works later on in this video, saying putting holds on orders because of address problems and stuff like that. And my wife spent all day correcting orders. Then the next day, Sunday, again, all day correcting a huge backlog of incorrect orders. And then Monday through Friday, every single day, from morning to night, my wife has been stuck in that office, responding to emails, correcting orders, trying to reach out to people to get correct addresses, what towns it's even supposed to go to, zip codes, all of that type of stuff, responding to people who, actually, we've got a few of these, and these are the ones that kind of like blow my mind. Is now I understand I make mistakes all the time, so let's get that clear. You made a mistake and it auto-filled your address to an incorrect one you didn't want it to go to, and you're asking if that can be corrected. Understood, no problem. But many of you have taken it to the attitude of, you owe me a whole new order because you sent my order to an address I haven't even lived at in 2 years. The f*** I did. We sent the order to the address you entered into the website. Whether it was auto-filled incorrectly or not, you submitted that order. Jim from Wisconsin, that's not even a real name, I'm just using that as an example. I don't know you. I don't know where you lived 2 years ago. I don't know where you live now. Don't come emailing us like we screwed you over, now we owe you all this stuff because we just randomly chose to send it to this address over here that how do we know about if you didn't enter into our website. So please, check your addresses. Make sure you actually select a t-shirt size. Make sure you actually select a shirt color. Verify all the information before you submit. My wife has been going through hell over the last week trying to keep up with this, and I really want her to take a break with that. And I'm gonna make that happen in 2 ways. 1, this video. 2, we are paying Printful, our fulfillment company, extra to now take over the customer support side. So when you order on our website, at the bottom, it's gonna say, for any issues, concerns, problems, whatever, here's the Printful customer support contact. So that we're not playing middleman. We've never done that before because we would get, you know, a handful of orders here and there, no big deal. The once in a while one was screwed up like once a month or something. It'd come to us, we'd go to Printful, hey, this person's having this problem. They say, okay, it's handled this way. And we're the middleman, no big deal. But when we're the middleman all day, every single day for 8 days straight now, that's unsustainable. And like I said, my wife needs a break. But the third way I'm going to relieve her of these duties is I am now going to take over any of the customer support that is beyond what can be handled through Printful. And fair warning, I f***ing suck at customer support. So it'll be best for you if you just make sure it's all correct and we don't have to have any issues. Now, if the order was screwed up, as in wrong sizes were sent, wrong items were sent, there's a problem with the print, something like that, defect in anything, man, 100% on us. You get a hold of us right away, we're gonna make that right, absolutely. I mean, we've even made all the ones right so far where the customer screwed it up and forgot to order sizes, and then a small shows up and they're all pissed off at me like I chose it or something like that. But we've still worked on getting what people wanted to them. So that being said, anything that comes to me beyond what Printful can handle, and like I said, their contact support is going to be down there. Any issues you have, contact them, because anything that comes to me that is a customer mistake that hasn't been shipped out to the customer yet because it's on hold because of screwed up addresses and stuff and all the things, I'm just going to go up to the top over here and I'm going to click cancel order, and then I'm going to go down just below that and I'm going to click refund the money. Order's going to be done. Your money's going to go back to you. If you want to try again, you're more than welcome to. So I suggest you handle as much as you can through Printful, because if it comes to me and it's a customer fault and not our fault, that's probably how it's going to get taken care of. Now, I will say that anyone who's glad that this giveaway promotion is still continuing and that this video is back up in the first place owes my wife a huge thank you, as do I, because when this video posted, which for you is now yesterday, but for me was this morning, and it was meant to be basically a promotion of the giveaway, we got another big rush of orders, another huge rush of problems came in. My wife just got overloaded again and I was done. So I went and I deleted the video. My wife and myself have both been working through that all day, trying to get those caught up, working with Printful to have them take over the customer service side of it and paying to have that done. But I was done. I was not going to promote. I wasn't going to mention this giveaway a single time the whole rest of the month, but my wife has convinced me to throw this in here. Okay, clear up. She wanted me to say this in a very nice, customer service oriented way. And if you're at all offended by anything I've said here, just know that this was like the 7th take and by far the nicest way that I've said this. So she convinced me to continue pushing the giveaway. The giveaway was going to finish out and happen either way. It legally has to. But I was just going to never mention it again and hope that no more sales came in and no more stuff got screwed up. And if we ate a bunch of money on that, we ate a bunch of money and lost on this, and we just never do a giveaway again. But she's convinced me to push through. We're going to keep going with it as long as everything stays happy from here and it smooths out a little, and we'll see what we can do with it. But now we can get back into the video that is about how giveaways work. And because we're so much deeper in now, I could really do a whole second how giveaways work video, because there is so much more on the back end side of this that is such a freaking nightmare. Don't even get me started on Shopify and holding on to money, pulling a QuickBooks over there. I think we got that settled today. We'll see if. Either way, back to the video. We are giving away a track Jeep, not this one right here, or actually the other one. This is the one I'm going to be keeping this winter and using for all our recoveries. And these are the Polar tracks that are being given away with the TJ that is not here right now because it's at the shop, so we can get ready to put the Hydro Assist steering on it so it can run these tracks. And this giveaway includes these tracks, that trailer to haul them on, plus the TJ on its wheels and tires. There were some people who were concerned about they have no use for a track Jeep. They want a Jeep they can actually drive, so this doesn't do them any good. Well, the Jeep comes with the wheels and tires. That's what the trailer's for, is to haul the tracks. They're a separate thing. You can put them on, you can take them off. It's that easy. Choose which one you want to run. Now, there are some pretty significant differences between these tracks and the matte tracks on my other Jeep. Some things are better, some things are worse. We'll go over that later as well. But back to this one here. I myself am not a really huge fan of the anti-rotate kits on the tracks, especially the type that's on the other style track like that, and I usually don't run them. So I'm sure you're wondering, why are we installing all this on this one? Well, as that bright sun came out behind a cloud, wow. This Jeep has had a problem with flipping tracks. I finally figured out why, but that means we need to put an anti-rotate kit on it. Now, on my previous Grand Cherokee that I ran what is essentially the exact same thing as those Polar tracks up there on for years, I never once had a problem with the tracks trying to flip. And then I put those Polar tracks on this Jeep, and just over and over again, they kept trying to flip and rotate under and swinging back and hitting the body. I went over and over those tracks left and right, measured everything this way, that way, trying to figure out what was so different about those tracks that caused them to flip on this Jeep when the other ones didn't give me any problems. And I finally realized that like halfway through the season, it wasn't the tracks at all. The Jeep was the problem. You see, this right here is a transfer case, and this particular one happens to be an NP249J, which is an all-wheel drive transfer case. That means it normally, all the time driving around, it is in all-wheel drive mode. And then when you put it in for low, it locks the front and rear together into a four-wheel drive low range. So let me explain the difference between all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive here. All-wheel drive essentially puts a differential right in the middle between your front and rear ends. That's not exactly how it works, but it's basically the same thing. So as you know, in an axle, power is supplied through the drive shaft to the center differential, and that power is evenly applied to both wheels or tracks, but it is able to differentiate that power between the two, therefore being called a differential. So that when you go around a corner, the outside one can go faster, the inside one can go slower. Everything's happy going up and down the road. Now, all-wheel drive kind of works the same way, where power is applied to the transfer case from the transmission, and it evenly splits that power to the front and the rear, which is then evenly split side to side. And there has to be some different speeds between the front end and the rear end going around corners, because the front is taking a wider path. So this front wheel is actually going much faster because it has to drive much farther than that back one on the other corner over there. So basically, like I said, the simple way to think about it is there are three differentials. One in this axle for side to side, one in that axle side to side, and one in the middle for front to back. When everything is even between all of them, power is evenly applied between all of them. But when you go around corners and maneuvering in parking lots and stuff like that, all of them are able to basically move at an independent speed so that there's no binding and skipping, which would break traction and make it want to slide. That is why in rain, snow, ice, slippery condition, all-wheel drive vehicles are far superior to even four-wheel drive vehicles. But the fact that they can all work independently is why four-wheel drive is superior to all-wheel drive when you're in a real off-road condition, because the front and rear are locked together. Both differentials have to spin at the same speed. When power is being applied, there is no ability for that to separate in the middle. So in the Grand Cherokee, the stock transfer case is an all-wheel drive transfer case. When it's in a normal high range, it doesn't have a two-wheel drive option, it is only all-wheel drive. When you put it in for low, then it's locked together into four-wheel drive at a low range. Now basically, when you put tracks on, this is your new tire size, which essentially gears your vehicle down drastically, making it act like it's in low range even when you're in high range. So to go full speed down the road, the fastest this thing will go is like 50 miles an hour. The speedometer says you're doing like 95, 100. The RPMs are tacked out, but you're only doing about 50 across the ground because you have such tiny little tires taking you down the road. Which means when I'm on tracks, I almost always run in high range because you are essentially low range as far as your gearing goes, and you don't need the low. The low is such a super slow crawl that it's just not necessary. And that worked fine for years with my original Cherokee on tracks, because what I knew but didn't put together between the two as to why this one was giving me problems with flipping tracks is my original tracked Cherokee had an NP231J transfer case in it, which it was converted to from this exact transfer case here, so that it had a two-wheel drive, a four-wheel drive high range, neutral, and then four-wheel drive low. And I always ran it in four-wheel drive high. So the front and rear, sorry, backwards there, were always locked together in high range, and they couldn't split the difference between the two. So every bit of turning this end did, this end had to do as well. Now, I'll be straight up here. 100% of the problem was just my own ignorance in this whole deal and not realizing the all-wheel drive problem I was having. But in my defense, I had never owned an all-wheel drive vehicle before this one right here. I very well know the difference. I know how they work. I know all of that. I just didn't put the two and two together that the all-wheel drive was the problem that was causing my tracks to flip. Because with the four-wheel drive, as these tracks came into a dip or a rut or something like that, and I was on the throttle, they were being forced to turn and pull up out the other side. With the all-wheel drive on this one, when they would fall into a rut or something like that, it didn't need to put power to this, and when they saw a big bit of resistance, they just stopped. And these ones back here kept going and basically pushed the Jeep up over the top of them, causing them to rotate up underneath and hit the body. So if you noticed last season, for the entire first half of the season, I just had problems left and right with these front tracks every time they went into a dip or a rut or a ditch, trying to nose under and flip and swing back up into the body. In the second half of the season, I never had another issue. What was the difference? Very simple. I just put the thing in four low. And yes, I did at one point put the chain rotation limiters on that set of tracks, but in all reality, they never did anything after that because the tracks never tried to flip after that. So knowing that, you're probably wondering, why did I spend all the money on this kit to install on the Jeep when that simply solves the problem? Well, it's because of the way I use this Jeep. In the recoveries type of stuff that I do, in this area, we have a lot of Forest Service roads, completely unmaintained, snowy Forest Service roads that leave right off of a main county road or even some of the highways. And so from the fog line of the road, it is straight snow off into the woods, and there's nowhere to pull over and unload the thing off a trailer and head out in the snow. But maybe a mile, 2, 3, 4, 5 miles down the road, there's a really good turnout where I can pull over, park, stage the truck and trailer. Then we just hop in this and head down the road or the highway, whatever, until we turn off and head into the woods. The tracks are great for that because they can go down the pavement without hurting them. But to do that, I need high range so I can hold a somewhat decent speed on the road. And my worry with this is if I'm doing 40 miles an hour down the road and these decide to not have the power that they need and want to tuck up underneath, especially if I get on the brakes or anything like that, I want the protection of the anti-rotate kit. Now, in the previous Cherokee and even in that TJ we're putting the other tracks on, that wouldn't be an issue because it'd be in 4 high, which even in high range locks the front and rear together. So these ones are never going to not be powered exactly same as the ones behind them. So hopefully that all makes sense. Now we're going to work on getting all this installed and go over how a track Jeep giveaway works. So this Jeep here already has the lower ball joint brackets on it. This is what the front anti-rotate system that comes from here goes to. And this Jeep was previously a track Jeep before I bought it. So it has the upgraded stronger tie rod and hydro assist steering on it. And in all reality, that's all you need to do to run tracks. I mean, you definitely want a stronger tie rod because you got these big old things prying on it. And you definitely need the hydro assist because you're trying to turn these big things. Other than that, a completely stock vehicle can run tracks just fine. Now, some people were concerned about that with the giveaway track Jeep. They were worried that once we modified it to run tracks, we just killed its drivability for tires. And like I said, not at all the case. A stronger tie rod, that's just a benefit no matter what you're doing. And hydro assist steering is basically the ultimate steering stabilizer, which Jeeps can use. So we're going to start with our first bracket here. That just slides on. And these are set screw bolts that just pinch into it and hold it in place. Now behind that, this is basically torsion suspension like in a trailer axle. You can see those rubber blocks back there. When this tries to turn, those rubber blocks cause a lot of resistance and only let it go so far up and down. And the farther it goes, the more resistance it creates. Now this bracket here is going to sit just like that, and we can put just a couple bolts in to hold it for now. Hey, go. There we go. And then now this bar is going to come from there to here. Now you could see there's 3 holes right here. This is basically the adjustment of how much leverage or how much resistance you want this to have. If this bar is all the way down, this has the most leverage to twist this, which is going to make it the softest resistance. If we move up here, we have far less leverage, which is going to make this have more resistance. Okay, so we're going to put that spacer in here. This bolt going to go through and push the spacer out because I didn't think that through. So we're going to put it back in, put it through the top hole so we have the most resistance. Then on the back side, we're going to start that nut. And we might have to jack the Jeep up a little to connect the other end. Can we make this work? Oh yeah, that'll do. Get a nut on the back side. Now we can tighten the 2 of these down. Okay, now we can back the lock nuts off up here, tighten these down, and this corner's done. These are just pinch bolts. They just, one from each side comes down and pinches that tube. That's what holds this in place. And then these jam nuts stop it from coming loose. Done. Now how this works is this whole track assembly tries to rotate backwards and go up like that. This obviously is a solid link, so as the track assembly rotates back, it pushes forward on this right here and twists it this way, which that torsion only allows it to go, that torsion block only allows it to go so far, and tries to pull it back in line, which tries to pull this whole assembly back level like it is now. If it tries to go forward, it pulls back on this, which again then tries to pull it back down to level. But while it's sitting here in the middle, there is essentially no pressure on these blocks right here, and it's just sitting. The great thing about this system over the chain system that all the others uses is it's progressive. As this moves a little bit, it gets a little bit of resistance. Moves a little more resistance. And as it gets out to the end, it just slowly increases the resistance until it hits the stops. The chain setup is completely free floating until it hits the end, and then it shock loads the chain, the lower ball joint, and everything all at once, all at the end. This doesn't do that. Okay, I'm not going to show you doing that side because I can promise you it looks just like doing this side. But what I'm going to do is talk about the giveaways and how they work. But first, in order to understand how they work, you need to understand why we do them in the first place. And don't get it twisted, no matter what any YouTuber is telling you, if they're doing a giveaway like this, it is to make money. That's the reason. It can be said as all the giving back to the fans and helping someone out and all that stuff. It's to make money. That's why. Now, of course, there's no guarantee that it's going to make money. It could completely lose money, absolutely. This is a business risk. It's a calculated risk that hopefully pays back off. And in my case, it's a little bigger risk because we've never pushed the merchandise thing or never made much money. Actually, maybe that's an advantage, actually. Merchandise is something we've never really pushed on this channel. I hardly ever mention it. It's just this little link down in the description of my videos that I almost never say anything about. And on one hand, we don't make money off merchandise. So to do something that is 100% dependent off making money off merchandise to pay it back and make it profitable, it's a little risky. On the other hand, I guess most of my audience doesn't have any merchandise because we've never pushed it and they never bought any. So maybe that means they're more likely to buy now, making this more lucrative. Actually, I don't know how it's going to work. That's going to be really interesting to figure out. I didn't think of that angle of it. Now, again, in full disclosure here, the most we've ever made off merchandise in a year on this channel. Now, there are channels that make hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars off of merchandise, sometimes a month. I don't know if millions a month, that's a stretch, but hundreds of thousands a month, there are absolutely ones that do. The most we have made in a year off of merchandise was for the 2024 year, because obviously this year's not done yet and we're doing this whole thing now, so that's going to throw the numbers wildly off. But up until now, the most we've made in a year, $6,000. So like I said, we don't push merchandise. We haven't ever sold very much of it. So in one side of that, merchandise isn't somewhere we make money. So doing something that costs a whole lot of money in hopes that merchandise sales pays for it is risky. On the other hand, it means there's still a market out there to sell the merchandise too. So maybe that's going to make up for it. As well thought out as I am about most business stuff I do, I completely missed that angle until just now. The sun's bright, so I'm bringing you back in here. And now you're too low, so I'm going to kneel down. Now, how the giveaways work, I can't just say, go buy merchandise and I'll just pick one of you to be a winner. It doesn't work like that. That's actually very much illegal. That's an illegal lottery. And as you can imagine, it's not legal to do those. Okay, I'm not going to lie, that was a very uncomfortable position to film in as well, so we might as well just get back to work. Back these off. And then we can slide this onto here. This is basically another one of those torsion blocks here, as you can see, and they're going to stop the track in a little bit different way. Oh wow, that's not much movement at all. Let me see, where'd my other bracket go? Dang it, I forgot it. Oh, here it is. This is the wrong side. Dang it. Right back. Okay, this is the right side one. It's going to go there on those bolts. And what do they have going on here? This might have to slide out significantly. And then it needs a bar that goes here to here. So that you see when the track tries to go up, it pushes down. When the track tries to go the other way, it pulls up. But, oh, inside bolt. There. So that's going to be Oh, this is way too long. Look on the outside. What are they? Does that kick it differently? No, it's supposed to be like this, but dang. Oh, that's even worse. Actually, that might be the way it has to go. Let me... Oh man. That's like off by a lot. I think what I'm gonna have to do here is jack the back of the Jeep up so that this and this move farther apart in a vertical plane, and that has room to get all this hooked up. And then when I let the back end down, it's gonna preload it down, which is good because the problem is these swinging up and hitting the body. So I guess I'm gonna want it preloaded down. Yeah, that's all I gotta do. Okay, back to the giveaway though. If I tell you you have to buy something from my website or whatever, you have to buy something from me, and doing so is your entry into possibly winning something, that makes it a lottery, and lotteries are illegal, they're wrong, and they're immoral, unless you're the government, and then they're a great thing that really helps out schools and the community. But the way around that is to have a no purchase necessary to enter option, because then you're not required to buy anything to enter. It's open to everyone without making a purchase, and it is therefore legal. That is why my giveaway, just like all the others, says no purchase necessary to enter, and there is a way to make it where you can enter without having to make a purchase, which is what no purchase necessary means, of course. Now, the way you can enter without making a purchase pisses off some people, and I understand. You have to, has to be a handwritten, of course, this is all in the official rules on our website. We have them linked to the giveaway company themselves, which is another whole thing, to their website, and it has all the ways of doing that. I'm going to speak in general here, not in ours specifically, because I don't have our rules sitting in front of me right now. And I shouldn't even say our rules, because they're not our rules. We didn't make them up. Someone else did. We're not running this giveaway. Someone else is. That's a whole nother part of this. All right. Did that help us at all? Oh, yeah. And then we can swing the track to make it where we need. Cool. That'll work. So again, I'm speaking in general here. For our giveaway, read the rules before you enter and do all this stuff. This is just in general. There's always going to be a no purchase necessary to enter way of doing it, which is generally going to mean writing like a handwritten letter on postcard material that says a certain thing, and mailing it in somewhere. Now, that makes people upset. Why can't I just go on the website and click enter? Well, because in the modern day of technology, anybody, probably even my dumb ass, could figure out how to make some sort of program that just went on the computer and entered you 4,000 times a minute to win the giveaway, and then you would automatically win. So that's why it has to be handwritten in actual wet ink writing. Cannot be photocopied, anything like that. It's to stop basically digital reproductions of entries to cheat the system. It's annoying, yes, but unfortunately there are people who will do that, so that's how it has to be done. Now we gotta figure this out. Yeah, like that. So when you submit those entries, they don't go to me, or I should say whoever's doing the giveaway. They go to a legal company that is running the giveaway. It's a sweepstakes company. They are the ones running it. I want the most resistance possible, so out of all these holes, I'm going to go to the farthest one back. Yes, that's correct. But we have a legal company run the giveaway for us. I don't, look at me. I don't make any of these rules. I can't change the rules. The rules are what they are on that website, and I can do absolutely nothing about it because I'm not in charge of this giveaway. So that's gonna go up there on that bolt, like that. My wife is pulling up, which either means I'm in trouble for something, or she's heading to town and wants to say goodbye. Hopefully that. I'm under a track Jeep, but I'm not stuck under it this time.
Oh, good, because I'm going to leave you, so...
Permanently, or are you coming back?
I'm coming back,
okay,
but
perfect.
I wanted to make sure you weren't stuck.
Okay, love you. Okay, as you see, I took that bolt out, and then this arm tried to drop down, so I had to ratchet strap the axle forward because it tries to swing back out. We'll have to pry that back in there. But also to take this off the bottom down there that I put in. The spacer that they give you for that hole right there does not let this bolt pass through it. So for now, I'm gonna have to go without, and we're gonna have that play right there, which I'm not super thrilled about, but it's what we're gonna have to do at the moment. And that's just gonna make a clunky noise as this does that as the tracks move. And it's just gonna waller out that hole, but I'm gonna have to like custom machine something to actually fit that. Now I also got this little ridge right here that bar needs to be out past, so I'm going to put 2 washers on the inside of it just to set it out some. So that can go, oh, we're going to have to drop that back down some. Close. There we go. All right, now this can go back in there, and you'll have to get ran in with the impact. And then we have a gap between this and this so it can move. Okay, so we've got our bottom spacer in. We can, come on, bolt, washer nut, okay, it actually can go in some, which is good, that's what I want. Okay, perfect. Tighten it down. Done. So when I set the suspension back down, the track's going to get pushed nose down, which is going to preload that down and limit my up travel in the front even more, which is good because that's where I have my clearance issue. It can swing this way, tons of room. Right there's my problem. So if I loosen the jack, come on, that pushed down on that, which just loaded the track down some. Hopefully not too much where it tries to dive, but I don't think so. So I know on our giveaway Jeep, I'm saying you can swap back and forth easily from tracks to tires, and this seems like a whole lot of work. You're not doing all this. 1, those tracks don't have this type of system. 2, I'm not sure I'm gonna put anti-rotate on it at all because it seems to me on that other style to cause more of a problem than it helps. It doesn't really help anything. But on these ones, all you have to do to take the tracks off and switch to tires is undo this one bolt. And then of course your lug nuts, take that off, put tires on, lug nuts. But if you undo this one bolt, all of this setup leaves with the track, and this one bar right here stays, which as tight as that thing is, you can flip it back or flip it up and zip tie it up here, whatever, and it stays out of the way. You don't have to undo and redo this one every time. One bolt here, and then in the front, you undo this one bolt right here, and then this whole assembly leaves with the track. So once all that's set up, to change this thing back over to tires, it's simply the lug nuts and one bolt on each corner. Pull it off, put the tires on, lug nuts back on, and you're done. I guess it's actually a little more than that, because those are 6-lug tracks on a 5-lug Jeep, so I have adapters in there as well, meaning to put the tires on, I have to take the tracks off, take the adapters off, then the tires can go back on. But on the tracks right here that are going on the giveaway Jeep, that's not the case. These are a dual lug pattern track. Sorry, they're all dirty. These are, you see, these holes are spaced out a little farther, and every other one is spaced in a little farther. These inner holes are a 5 on 4.5 lug pattern, and these wider holes are a 5 on 5 pattern. That means these are a direct bolt-on to any Jeep from 1987 when the YJs started to currently today, any of the Wranglers. The YJs and TJs used the 5 on 4.5, and then when they went to the JK and then now the JLs, they went to a little bit bigger 5 on 5. These tracks have both lug patterns in them, so they'll bolt on either one just the same. And then on these tracks, the anti-rotate setup, actually these tracks from the factory had no provisions of any kind for any anti-rotate at all. They're meant to be run with nothing, but I drilled holes and made this setup that mounts basically to a knuckle like those do. When the tracks swing one way, that chain tightens. When they swing the other, that chain tightens. And I don't think I'm going to set the giveaway Jeep up to run those. I think I'm just going to take those off, because 1, these tracks were never meant to run any sort of anti-rotate. 2, it has 4 high and 4 low where it's locked together and everything. Like I said, when running like that, I've never had an issue with tracks flipping. 3, early on of running tracks, I thought, man, you've got to have anti-rotate because that's what people said. And so I've hooked up this kind of goofy chain setup, and I guess that's a perfect example right there. You see the pin for that little shackle? No, you don't, because it fell out. There should be a pin in there, and then a cotter pin goes in. But snow and chunks of ice going through there, they knock that out, the pin falls out, and then this falls down, and it winds up under these wheels, and the chain slices through the track. And like I said, early on, I sliced a track all the way around and killed a track because one of those chains pin came out and it fell down in there. It killed one of the wheels and sliced the track, and that can strand you out in the middle of nowhere. So I would rather not run that chain setup than risk having that happen. And like I said, the only reason I put that chain on is because I kept having so many problems with that Cherokee trying to flip the front ones. So I did that thinking I needed it, and then I realized you just put it in 4 low and the problem goes away. But like I said, some very big design differences. I'm going to go throw those other 2 brackets on those tracks, and I'll pull them up here and we'll go through that side by side. But either way, back to the giveaway. Like I said, when you send in those no purchase necessary entries, they go to the giveaway company, and then they get logged in the system on however many you've done, so many entries you get. Just like when you do a purchase on our website, caseladell.com, every dollar you spend is an entry. And that legal company is tied into our website now, so that when you purchase, it logs how many dollars you spent and attributes that many, I don't know if that's the right word for that, but that many entries to your name and puts them in the pot. And then when this is all said and done, everybody's got however many entries they got, whether it's the purchase entries or the no purchase necessary entries, and then it randomly picks one. And like I said, we have nothing to do with that. We're not like reaching in and drawing a name out of a hat like that. It's a legal company who, this is what they do, handles all that and picks the winner. And then we are told who the winner is. So I just got to do the same thing again on that side of the Jeep, and this thing's done. But yeah, it's impossible for us as like the YouTubers, if we're doing this legally through a company like that, to have any sort of sway, influence, or choice in who does or doesn't win. Actually, I got to head back into the house, reply to an email first, then I'll do that. But that company, obviously, they're not doing this for free. They're making money off of it, and since they are the ones who are having to be responsible to make sure this is all done right and legally and hold all of that accountability, they are far from free. Thousands upon thousands and thousands of dollars to have them run it. And now, like I said, they're the ones who make the rules, not us. So a lot of you saw that Hawaii, Alaska, Florida, and New York are excluded from this giveaway. Hawaii and Alaska, that's this company's basically rules. It costs a lot more to get them to include those two states. The Florida and New York thing, that is one we could include, but it well over doubles my cost in doing this giveaway to include those two states. Well over doubles. Those states require massive cash bonds be put down, and they hold, and the bond has to be registered, the vehicle has to be registered as I don't know if it's a giveaway vehicle or some other state registration in each of those states. And they hold that basically so they could put a lien on that vehicle if you don't do everything correctly. And then when it's all said and done, there's all this proof that has to be sent to them of who won it, how they were picked, what processes were used. They have to verify that's all legitimate, and then they have to have actual proof and receipt. I don't even know how they do this part, but proof and receipt of that person getting the vehicle. And if not, they can keep the bond, they can file a lien on the vehicle, they could go back and basically repo a vehicle that they never owned from either me or an incorrect person they think that we let win for some reason that wasn't legit, or whatever. Either way, it's very, very expensive. But if you do it all correctly, they'll give you your bond back minus the fees they charge to go through all of that. So we're already tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars deep into doing this giveaway just to make it live on day one. And as far as the running the giveaway part of that, it well over doubles the cost to include those two states. And this is a completely unproven thing for me, so it wasn't a risk we could really take. So sorry, Florida people, I know you were really looking forward to those tracks in the snow, but just ain't gonna work out. Okay, email done. Back to the shop. So yeah, if this giveaway proves to be very lucrative and make a lot of money, we would obviously want to do it again. And if so, we could then include those states because we would know that the return is worth the investment on that. But like I said, as of this point, it's all completely unproven. It's a very expensive thing to do, very risky thing to do. So we just had to err on the side of the caution and skip those ones for this giveaway. Now, this isn't me complaining about it at all. Like, this is something I think is going to work out. That's why I'm doing it. And I'm excited to do, but there is a whole lot of business side to it, a lot of cost. My wife has spent so much time setting all this up, and that business side of it with the giveaway company and the website integrations and all the stuff, like, it's work for sure. But hopefully it's a lot of fun at the end when someone gets to drive off in not that track Jeep, but a track Jeep with the wheels and tires too, so they could actually drive off with it, towing their tracks on the trailer. Obviously, like I said, the goal is to make money, so hopefully it does make a lot of money so that we can reinvest a good portion of it to do a bigger giveaway with a cooler vehicle and then just keep going up from there. But as everybody knows, it takes money to make money, and in addition to the many thousands of dollars it costs to legally run the giveaway process itself, my wife has spent all day, every day for a week straight setting up the whole back end of this thing with that company, and as well as all the logistics on the website and stuff. And then on the physical end of the prize itself, the Jeep, the tracks, and the snowmobile trailer, once I announced this live on day one, those aren't mine anymore. No matter how bad this thing bombs, I have to give those away. So you have all that cost in there as well of, you have to buy the stuff first, whether you're buying it specifically for the giveaway or doing a giveaway of something you already have, things like that. You have that cost in there. And then there's the legal cost, and then there's a merchandise cost. So as I'm looking in the screen of this camera, I should be wearing merchandise, and I'm wearing an Elite Fleet Automotive sweater and a TW truck and equipment hat. Didn't think that through. But we have the merchandise cost. So we use a fulfillment company. It's just my wife and I here. We don't have the bandwidth to run our businesses and make these YouTube videos and go do the recovery and towing jobs and all that, and then pack and ship merchandise as well. We don't have the ability to do that. So we use a fulfillment company where it's a print-on-demand fulfillment company, so we don't have to buy thousands of dollars of stock ahead of time, but we do have to buy each item ahead of time. So how it works is, say you go onto my website right now and spend $50. Well, that order goes to the fulfillment company. Our website charges you $50. The fulfillment company receives the order instantly. The fulfillment company has a cost in producing, printing the shirt, embroidering the hat, whatever, packaging it, and shipping it to you. So say that cost is $35. They charge us the $35 instantly. So the minute you pay $50 on the website, we get charged $35 that comes out of our account and goes to the fulfillment company. Then they start making the product, getting all set up, ship it out to you. And sometimes our shipping times are a little bit longer because they actually have to make each item as it's ordered. But either way, we get charged instantly for whatever the cost is. And obviously they have their profit built in it as well. So say it's $35. We pay $35 for you to make that order. And it's 3 to 4 business days later that the $50 that you paid gets to our actual account. So in that meantime, we're at a deficit, or deficit in there. So when I launched the giveaway on day one, and this is being filmed as day one is happening, so I don't know how this has gone yet, how it started off yet, but a bad thing that could happen is this just goes wildly successful on day one, and there's $100,000 in orders. In the long term, it's great because in 3-4 days when that money finally gets back to us, we've profited enough to cover the cost of all this, and we're back to break even or profit side of things. Great. In the short term, we've gone bankrupt because all our money disappeared. So in all reality, I hope, like I said, this is day one. I'm not looking at the computer and how things are going, but hopefully it's like a smooth, slow ramp up throughout the month of people ordering, so that in all reality, once we get 4 days into it, the money that was paid on the first day from orders will be flowing into our account, and then we'll be a little behind, but we're going to have money coming in as money's going out. It'll just be a little lopsided, but it'll be chasing itself up. But for those first 4 days, all we're going to see is money going down before stuff starts ramping back up. That's like just the fun of business. Now, there are ways to make like a big rush of sales at the end of a giveaway, and a lot of people do it. I'm not going to. It's probably shooting myself in the foot a little bit on sales, but I don't like the tactic of getting to the last week and being like, or for the last 2 weeks of it being like, hey, for these last 2 weeks, your entries are worth 10 times as much. Now, instead of getting 1 entry per dollar, you're getting 10 entries per dollar. So buy stuff. That seems to me, granted, people can do what they want. They can run their giveaways how they want. To me, that seems unfair to the people who supported it right from the beginning and only got 1 entry per dollar spent. Now people who waited to the end get 10 times as much. Like, that's lopsided. And then at the very, like the last week of the giveaway, oh, for this last week, it's 25 times entries. Like, again, not knocking people who do that. It's a tactic that works and makes this profitable to do, or much more profitable to do. I just don't want to, I don't want to do that myself. So from day one, November 1st to the last day, November 30th of this giveaway, $1 is 1 entry. I shouldn't be saying this because like you don't have to buy until later on, whatever, but that's all it is. It's the same all the way through. It's the exact same value to everyone who puts $1 in, gets the same value of entries out of it. Plus you get whatever merchandise you spent. Same thing of the no purchase necessary entries. They're worth what they're worth from the beginning to the end. Nothing changes. Nobody gets an advantage based on when they buy. Business-wise, that's not the smartest way of doing it, but it's just the way I want to do it. And I feel like by now the multiple ways to enter things should be cleared up, but just in case it's not, like I said, I'm not tracking our website on sales today. We're like halfway through the first day. But I have seen some of the emails that have come in from the contact form on our website, like where questions and stuff get submitted. And I've gotten a dozen probably who are like, you said every dollar spent on caseofthedough.com gets an entry, and then you also said no purchase necessary to enter. Which is it? You can't have both. But actually, yes, you can have 2 different ways to enter. Like this shop right here. Check it out. It has a door right here, and it has a door over there on the other side. You can go in this door, or you can go in that door. Those are 2 different ways to enter the shop. You can choose whichever one you want. All right, I'm going to get this other side done, and then we're going to go compare tracks side by side. I don't know whose idea it was to put a 5.9 liter Magnum V8 in a Jeep, but I'm glad they did. This thing is so cool. I do have some bolts left over. These are the bolts for that upper bracket that goes into the suspension mount on the back, but the bolts they gave aren't long enough to go through that suspension mount out the other side, and the spacers they gave aren't big enough to fit the factory bolt through them, so those don't work. Alright, let's get... Oh, I parked everything in the way. How do I get over there? I think I can go around that truck and back in. Why did it die? Oh, I'm out of gas. That's why. Okay. Looks good. All right, check it out. That is perfect. Okay, that little torsion box right there is maxed out at the moment. That's all it'll go, and it's got the front of the track drove in right there, and it's lifting the back of the track off the ground. It's not letting the track do that anymore, which gets that into the body right there, which was the problem I had previously with the mat tracks and why that's all bent up. That's very sharp. It'll cut these. So right now, look, the whole back of the track is floating, and oh crap. Why is this all broke? Huh. Oh, these ones have the hydraulic steering in them. I didn't even freaking realize that. Okay, so that doesn't really matter. But I'll tell you about that later. But either way, well, that means this is a front track, not a back. And that's a back track, meaning I have my tracks mixed up. Whatever. Either way, I got clearance here, and I have room for the suspension to compress, which will bring this straight up and still clear. So that's good. Okay, so I did not realize these were the steering assist tracks. So this is a front track, and that's a front track, and this are rear tracks. Now dimensionally, shape-wise, they're exactly the same. But the front tracks have this little hydraulic cylinder in here, and that's the adjustment. It comes up here, you can see the hydraulic fitting right there. And it's attached, this is a floating bogie that floats back and forth to allow the tracks to follow terrain, as you saw as it kind of went over those rocks there. But what these tracks do, instead of running the hydro assist up there, it would take that hydraulic fluid when I turn any direction, it doesn't matter. It takes hydraulic fluid and it pushes out on that cylinder, which takes, you can see it's a little swing arm right here. And it takes these two bogies and it does that to them. And what that does is that pushes this center one right there down into the ground and takes the weight off all the others, so it can pivot nice and easy with just your stock steering. Because instead of trying to pivot and turn this big old huge surface area on the ground, you're just on that center wheel right there, pivoting nice and easy, kind of like a round tire. So I've never run that steering assist setup myself. I've had a few sets of mat tracks now, and this is the first time I've ever had a set that actually has it. But I have heard from people that have run it that it works great. In my mind, it doesn't make a lot of sense, because it seems like on hard surfaces or hard pack icy snow, yes it will, because you know you're taking the weight off of all the ends and putting it right in the center. But in If you're in deep snow and the snow's this deep down the track, it doesn't seem to me like that would matter at all or make any difference, because you still have the snow next to them that you're trying to turn and push against. I've been told that's not the case and it works really good. I just can't see it in my mind when you're actually in deep snow. Where I've always used hydro assist steering, where this makes so much freaking sense to me, is this is a lot of leverage in hitting bumps and ruts and getting shoved back and forth. A lot of leverage on your steering box up there, and where your steering box is bolted to the frame, especially on a Jeep like this. It's unibody and doesn't have a frame. So even with that hydro or that steering assist in the tracks, all the leverage from ruts and movements and hitting holes and stuff like that is still being transferred through the steering straight up to your frame or your steering box or whatever. When you have hydro assist involved, that ram is not going to move unless you move it with the hydraulic fluid. So if this track hits a rut and gets shoved that way, that force goes right to there and stops it straight into the axle. Also, like when you are steering and you're turning that pitman arm back and forth, as it shoves that way, it's got to shove against the frame the other way to push that over there to steer the tracks. Well, in this hydro assist setup, that is still functional and doing its thing, but most of the work is being done by that ram that goes from the axle right to the tie rod here. So that's just collapsing and pulling it over and not putting all that huge back and forth stress on the pitman arm of the steering box. So long story short, to me, hydro assist makes a lot more sense than the steering assist cylinder in the tracks. I don't know because I haven't actually run that. But then when you're on tires or something like that, you basically have an amazing steering stabilizer down there. So I think I would choose hydro assist either way. But I would like to run it to kind of see how that setup actually works. Maybe I need both. Either way, the differences in these tracks, well, that's one right there. You notice these are rigid all the way through. So there is no floating bogies like these ones right here. Now these are an all-season, all-terrain track, made for dirt, mud, sand, snow, dry pavement, anything, rocks, mud. I think I said mud. Now I have used these in all of those conditions listed. Not these particular ones, the previous brand that I had that's the exact same construction out of the exact same materials, and I never had an issue. They work great. On bumpy, rocky stuff, these are a rougher ride because this is all one rigid piece all the way through, and that right there has those bogies that kind of float over it and move to help take that up. So between the two, as far as all kinds of different terrains, Mattracks do have the advantage. But that's a whole lot of extra moving parts and pieces in there, which are its disadvantage. You see these swing arms, these bearings, everything in here, all of that steering setup in there, these wheels, the tracks themselves, everything about this is specific to Mattracks. If you need any replacement parts, you have to call Mattracks or go on their website and order them and wait for them to get shipped to you. These, on the other hand, are made completely out of snowmobile components. Other than the metal frame itself and this metal wheel, all of this is snowmobile components with the exception of this main bearing right here. But this is a 7,000 pound trailer axle, spindle, and bearing. So if you need new bearings, you unscrew this cap right here. There's going to be the spindle nut in there. And this is basically a trailer hub that would have studs through it out the other way that a trailer tire would bolt onto. So you go to Napa Auto Parts and just get a wheel bearing kit for a 14,000 pound trailer, which would have 7,000 pound axles. And that's your main bearings for this right here. Now the tracks, snowmobile tracks. You can go to any snowmobile shop and pick them up right off the shelf. The bogey wheels, snowmobile bogies, same thing. They're sitting on the shelf. The Hi-Fax slides in here, snowmobile slides. I think these are Polaris slides. But again, all of the components involved in making these work, other than the steel frame and this wheel, of course, you can walk into any snowmobile shop, get right there, walk back out, slap them on, and head back out in the outdoors. Whereas these ones are complete proprietary Mattracks stuff that you can only get through Mattracks and have to order and wait for and all of that stuff. Now for a recreational user, sure, you can wait, that's fine, you don't need to go out. But for me, That's a massive disadvantage because I use these for work, and in the wintertime I'm using them like every single day. So if I have to wait a week for parts to show up, that's a huge hit out of my business, my work, my YouTube videos, all of that. So that's a massive disadvantage for these, where these are a huge advantage for me in the way I use them. Now again, being a snowmobile track, you can get all different lug designs. You can get taller ones, shorter ones, much more aggressive, much less ice attack one, whatever you want. There's options out there. With these, you basically get this design or the turf design. They might have one other, but you're still stuck to the mat track tracks only. Now again, snow tracks. These work really freaking good in snow and on very icy conditions. Look how sharp and pointy and how many of those there are. They grip into icy hard stuff really well. Look at these right here. Very rounded, big, fat, not at all sharp and aggressive lugs. In very icy conditions, these do not bite well at all and kind of turn into skis. All season, all terrain tracks, snow tracks. So I might have to go out a dirt road or a gravel Forest Service road through mud, stuff like that to get to the snow. These are going to hold up to that a lot better than these. The next one is cost. These right here, 12,000 bucks, I believe, like 50,000 bucks. These are incredibly expensive, which is why I have never owned a brand new set of mat tracks and never will unless they like give me a set, because there's no way I can justify spending 50 grand on just a set of tracks. YouTube's cool and all, but it doesn't pay that kind of money. So these are a much simpler, much more straightforward track. These are a much more complicated, more robust, I don't know if you want to call it professional versus consumer grade, or how you want to split that, but very easy to get parts, very easy to maintain, really nothing to them, super lightweight. Oh, these are very lightweight. These are like 350 pounds per corner, which adds a ton of weight to the vehicle. This track itself is much thinner than the big 8-lug ones that I had on this Jeep. And when I switched from those big 8-lug tracks, I'd use adapters to put on here that were made for like full-size diesel pickups and stuff that had that thicker belt, to these tracks with this thinner snowmobile belt, it felt like this thing gained 50 horsepower right off the bat, because that rubber is so much easier to turn than this big thick rubber and all this weight. So it's another thing, like I said, it might be more like a professional versus consumer grade, but then you have weight, complexity, cost, waiting for parts, whereas easy to get parts, lightweight, much cheaper to maintain, much cheaper to buy. So I don't know. We're gonna go through this whole season on the mat tracks. I've gone back and forth, and I like and dislike each one for different things, but I've not run mat tracks for a whole season all the way through. I have run this style for multiple seasons all the way through. So we're gonna give these a full shot, see how they do, and one of you gets to see how those do. Because again, we're giving them away with an imaginary Jeep that's not here in front of it right now. For one, so that one of you gets to win a cool Jeep with a set of tracks and a snowmobile trailer to haul them around on. And so that hopefully I make some money on the deal and we can do some more of this stuff. So to sum it all up, giveaways. They're done to make the giveawayer money. That's the reason for it. It is cool that one of you gets a super cool vehicle or thing or whatever is being given away for the price of a t-shirt, a hat, or filling out no purchase necessary entry form and sending in. I mean, there's a lot of ways YouTube channels make money. There's the direct YouTube ad revenue itself that YouTube pays us, which for most channels is the smallest slice of the pie, but for mine is the biggest chunk, because we don't really do much of the other stuff. I mean, we should, because there's a lot of money being left on the table there, but pushing the merchandise sales, which again we don't do until this giveaway, is kind of like a experimental big push of our merchandise to see what can it really make off of that if we were to push that a little harder. Doing sponsored ads in the video, that's one I do a little bit of. I really should do a lot more, because I have a lot more offers coming in and we just say no to most of them. But that's a huge chunk of money being left on the table. So for now, we're trying out the giveaway thing, which is itself a merchandise marketing I don't want to say gimmick, but essentially. But again, done through an actual legal company that handles it and runs these things. Again, we have to spend money for them to do that, a good portion of it. Hopefully it pays off. We'll see. I'll let you know. If you see me doing another giveaway, just know that this one paid off. And if you never see me do a giveaway again, just know that I lost my ass on it. So hopefully that's not how it goes. If you do want to get entered to win my 97 Jeep TJ on the wheels and tires that you can drive anywhere with a set of tracks on a snowmobile trailer to pull them around on, the ultimate backcountry exploring kit, go to CaseyLiddell.com, where every dollar you spend for this month of November 2025 gets you one entry to win. But of course, as always, no purchase necessary, void where prohibited. All the official rules and details at the link down below in the description and the pinned comment. I'm excited to see how this works out. A little bit nervous about it as well, to be honest, but something we figure we can give a shot, see how it goes. Hopefully good, and we can do more of this. I mean, my hope is that it does really well, because one thing that does good on this channel is when I go buy some unique or cool vehicle somewhere and try to drive it home. Those videos do really good. They're a whole lot of fun for me to do. You guys seem to like them. So if the giveaway thing really starts to work out, we could combine those two, use the money that this giveaway makes to buy some other cool, unique vehicle somewhere, drive it home, fix what we need to along the way, fix it up some, and that be the next giveaway vehicle. And then keep doing that process. That would help fund the YouTube channel itself, create more of the content that does very well on this channel that you guys seem to like, something I like to do, and then blend it all together in a hopefully profitable and sustainable way so that we can keep doing it. So all that being said, go get entered to win if you want to, in whichever way that you choose. Obviously, it business sense to me is to sway you into doing it one particular way, but I'm going to say enter how you want to enter. And one question that I've had from people is, if they're in an area, a country, a state, whatever, that's not eligible for the contest, can they still buy merchandise? Yes, you absolutely can. If you want to buy merchandise just to buy merchandise, you still can. And if you're not somewhere that's eligible for the giveaway, though, it just won't count as entries for the giveaway. But you can still buy merchandise if you want to. But for all of those, everybody, no matter how you're doing it, I appreciate you supporting this channel. If entering the giveaway is not something you can do right now, just you watching these videos supports it as well. So thank you for that. That's going to be it for this one. I know we didn't even have the actual giveaway Jeep here, and I'm not even wearing any of my merchandise because I never said I was good at this, which is one of our shirts on the website, by the way. That was a good little segue. But we got the rotation limiters installed on my track Jeep. We got it loaded with gear. This thing is ready to go out and doing snow recovery. Snow is supposed to hit in the hills a little later this week. My goal is to get the Hydro Assist on the giveaway Jeep this week, get the tracks on it, and instead of taking this one out to do some recoveries, do some with the other one so we can really see how it does, see if there's anything else it needs before it goes to one of you. And then really most excited to get into our winter recovery season. It is right around the corner. As you can see by the weather, seasons are changing, fun is coming, and hopefully we get to see you there. Thanks for watching.